Buenas tardes, gracias de nuevo por estar acá. Nos preparamos entonces para la última plenaria de estos 2 seminarios que hemos venido trabajando estos 3 días, agosto 9, 10 y 11, y hoy finalizamos estas jornadas académicas con nuestra última plenaria. Recuerden que al terminar esta plenaria tenemos un evento cultural que sin duda lo vamos a disfrutar todos. So thank you for being here. So this is our last plenary of our 3 days of these 2 seminars. So it is really a pleasure to have you here. And it is also a pleasure to have here Juliana Correa, our last plenary speaker. So thank you, Juliana, for accepting our invitation to these seminars. So Juliana, she has a lot of experience in the academic area. So she has a bachelor degree as an international negotiator from Universidad de She holds 2 master degrees. One is related to international relations with an emphasis in security and development from the Universidad Autónoma de Barcelona. She also holds a master degree in literary hermeneutics from Universidad de and she is a PhD candidate in social and cultural and technological studies at Universidad de Catalunya. She currently works as Director of International Affairs and Cooperation for Development of the Institute of Political Studies, Quorum. She is also part of the Global Studies area at Universidad de and as a coordinator of the academic line in business internationalization. In addition, she is an active member of the GenTech Research Group on Gender and Communication Technologies in Barcelona, España. Finally, Juliana Correa is a designer of educational programs and didactic material for virtual and hybrid education in various higher education institutions such as EAFIT, Politécnico Gran Colombiano, and CEIPA Business School powered by Arizona State University. Today, Juliana will talk about empowering minds for a transformative future, Sustainable Development Goal 4 and beyond. Thank you again, Juliana, for accepting our invitation, and you've got the floor.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Sergio, Adriana, and all of the different professors that I have been meeting throughout these different days. Just as Sergio mentioned, well, today I'm going to be speaking to you about one particular topic that has been of interest for me for the last maybe 10, 11 years, which is the element of development. Particularly, my lecture or my speech today is going to be revolving around a topic that relates to one of the global agendas that we have understood as these frameworks, very interesting global frameworks that attempt to solve some of the many issues that we have as humanity today in the international system. One of the things that I would like to start with is by defining, of course, the word development. I find this particular word very interesting, not only because it has so many meanings as there are people in the world, but also because it is a very highly contested term in international relations. The word development, just as the word security or just as the word globalization, has come to a point of intriguing the very, very bright minds in our world, in different areas. Particularly, when we talk about the word development, if we want to give it a definition, we need to think about the context. if we take this particular word and we put it into different scenarios, under different groups of people, under different topics, we can actually make a very high emphasis into several frameworks. Today, we're going to understand a little bit about why the word development should not be conceived only under the elements of economics or under the elements of numbers. Progress does not relate directly to economic success, framing it with the different states, but development goes beyond. Development means also including different approaches such as the human aspect, and development means also including different elements such as freedom, democracy, different elements that provide human lives with the opportunity to overcome the difficulties that they have in their different contexts. Having said this, one particular professor, Nobel Prize winner, economist, philosopher, a person that's very highly recognized in the world of human development, which is Professor Amartya Sen, a person that has been fighting for over 40 years with the context of our international system, with the international approach, by providing different ideas on how we should improve the conception of this word, how we should improve the perception of how human lives should be taken into consideration into the different countries, particularly those coming from the South. Countries that we call today poor countries, poor nations, countries that we call today developing nations. Usually we use it as a synonym also. And I would like to highlight a particular point that Professor Amartya Sen has brought to us in his different books, in his different lectures, and in the different spaces that we have had the pleasure to hear from his ideas. He actually, one of the things that he mentions is that the conventional economic measures that will link directly to the word development should be completely destroyed. Not meaning that economic evolution or that economic progress is not important, but more to say that economic progress and economy in general is a tool to obtaining what we call today human development. So this particular element actually shifts a lot the conception that we used to have about development. Back in the 50s or back in the 60s, after the Second World War, there was a common conception that if there was a particular state that was rapidly growing on its pace of economic development, then it was a developed nation. But we never raised the question of what were the different countries doing or how were they investing this money, these economic resources they were gaining in the human lives of their population. Amartya Sen was the first one to actually raise that question. He came across different figures in the world, including Gro Brundtland, including the former secretaries of the UN, and what he did was include his philosophical roots into these, let's say, thinking of the approach of development. He said, well, if we do not pay attention, careful attention to what the different governments are actually doing and investing in their population, then we cannot call a state a developed state. What happens with this perspective of Amartya Sen? Well, he first asks, can we call progress only to the raising of a GDP in a nation? Such a basic index. Just an index that's telling you how fast the economy of the country is going. He also says, if we consider human development, we also need to include this perception of a holistic approach. We need to think also about the well-being, about the freedoms of population. He uses this particular chart in one of the lectures that he provides in a university in the United States. He uses this chart taking 4 countries from 4 different areas in the world, very different areas. He shows the countries only based on the GNP or GDP per capita that each of these nations held. As you can see right here, 4 of them hold exactly the same number, $500 per capita, that's it. According to the very mainstream approach of economic development, then we should say that all 4 of these states should have exactly the same level of development. Nevertheless, as I just explained a brief moment ago, Amartya Sen is the one to say, what if we include the Human Development Index and we compare it directly to this particular number? What would happen? Would we still consider the 4 of them as having exactly the same level of development, or would something change? And as you can see, definitely taking one case at a time, we can see that the investment that each of these governments provide to the population in terms of education, for example, which we can call adult literacy rate, or in terms of life expectancy, in terms of even infant mortality rate, which would be translated directly as the healthcare systems of a nation, or as the preoccupation that the government has, depending on the different sectors of the population, then we do have different levels of development. So one of the first concluding remarks that he has in this speech or in his particular thesis is that economic development should never be directly related, or should never be the equal example of what human development is. Economic development is only a tool to obtain human development. That being said, he has one particular view, and he says, well, we shouldn't look at development on the basis of numbers only. I know that we live in a world that's very data-driven today, but it should be the second stage to our preoccupation on human development. What should we be looking at today? We should be looking at the attributes that we are providing to the different populations around the world. Are we allowing them to make clear decisions? Are we giving them the freedom to actually choose their own paths? Are we allowing them to deploy and to explore their interests to the maximum and to actually transform their lives on the basis of what they like? On that area, he decided that since we were not able to look at human development only based on numbers, he was going to propose 3 particular elements: capabilities, functionings, and agency. These 3 definitions of these 3 terms allow us to comprehend a little bit better what he aimed to do with his entire research throughout his life. He's actually telling us, wait, bear in mind that if we're not asking ourselves this particular question, how to achieve well-being, aside of only attaining economic progress, then we're doing something wrong. We need to relate capabilities to the freedom to be, the freedom to do, and the freedom to become. If a person has that, then we can take a look at the second one, the achievement and the activities that those capabilities are going to promote to the person that is looking at it. And agency is a mere capacity. When we talk about agency, we're talking about the capacity to make choices, and as I was explaining before, the capacity that we have to shape our own lives, independent of the context, on the type of government, on the type of economic system, and so on. Having said that, the transitions that Amartya Sen proposed were not only based on going from a very mainstream approach of the definition of development, that it was economic progress, to the human development context, but also it served for the different agents in the international scenario to make decisions as the creation of these different agendas. I know that we have been talking a lot about the different SDGs, about the connection with education, about the connection with different goals that the world has come to understand as a general preoccupation. But let us just focus on this. which is the goal that I'm going to be explaining later on. The goal of education back then in the 2000s, during the Millennium Development Goal creation, was only to achieve universal primary education. As you can see, just on that very basic definition of development, this first agenda, this first global agenda was also very limited in the conception of what the world could actually do. On 2015, when the different countries gathered together and they decided that they had to reshape that conception of the priorities in the world, they actually changed not only the language they were using, but also they changed the approach in terms of education. This is only one example. I could actually go one by one explaining how the world and the countries, the governments, institutions, countries, and so on decided to create this very broad agenda. But when we talk about education today, under this particular framework, we're no longer talking about teaching people how to read or how to write or how to do basic maths. We're teaching them about how to get quality education, which is an entirely different way or an entirely different framework of how to educate our population. What do I mean by this? I give you an example. Let me illustrate you with these two examples. The first one is a farmer. Let us picture a farmer from a developing nation that has access to quality education under the concept that I just explained. It's not providing basic reading, writing, or maths, but instead, I'm teaching this farmer how they can grow the crops to a particular length, how can they multiply the different seeds, how can they be sustainable in the way that they produce the food inside of the farms, and how also we can learn, based on the experience of the farmer, about the nutritious components of that particular crop that they produce. What would happen if we give access to that farmer to this quality education? The results are simpler. First things first, in terms of productivity, the crop yields would be definitely higher. If I'm teaching this particular farmer what type of nutrients to use in the crop, what type of soil they should plant the seed on, what type of environment or climate or whatever conditions he needs for that particular crop, then I am actually allowing them to make a better decision regarding their professions. I'm also improving the nutrition on this person, because of course, if the conditions allow it, then he's going to be able also to feed himself from that particular crop. And last but not least, a healthier life, a healthier, more stable life, understanding what he can do with all this quality education that I was mentioning. There are a lot of examples today about what different institutions, what different governments have done with the concept of higher education. I'm only bringing you one particular example, but I can think of at least 5 or 6 that I know already. The Cocoa Life Project. This is a project that was born in the 2 most important countries that are currently producing cocoa, Ghana and Cote d'Ivoire. These 2 countries count with, as we know, very poor population that are fully dedicated to agriculture, and to the surprise of everyone, most of that population are women. What happens when we prohibit, or when we limit, more to say, when we limit the access of women to education? They won't know about basic concepts such as gender awareness. The fact that 99% of these women living in both of these countries that are fully dedicated to the crops of cocoa do not own the different terrains or the lands in which they actually plant the seeds, that tells us a lot. The fact that it is their husbands, or the fact that it is their fathers, the owners of these lands, actually tell us about the possible future that these women will hold. Then what are the different institutions doing today? Providing this quality education that I just mentioned by training them on gender awareness, training them on financial literacy, involving them in additional income-generating activities, also teaching them about child protection and how to take their children out of this labor and just put them into schools, on solving the issues also on forced child labor in their communities. And last but not least, that I think is one of the best practices that we have come to encounter in this quality education, is teach these particular communities about sustainability. Another word that we can also put into the same bag as development, very contested word in the definition. What have been the results? These are the basic or more superficial results that they have had. A bunch of different people being impacted by this transformation, by this particular education process. Aside of that, we can see that also development encompasses far more than economic growth, as I just mentioned, because these women are not only learning for themselves, but they're also replicators of that knowledge. And as you know, one particular member of a community that holds knowledge can easily transform the entire context of the society. What do we need to do when we think about how to empower people to understand about SDG 4 and about the concept of human development, as I just explained? One of the first things that comes to my mind, or as I was preparing for this particular lecture, it was, I think that we need to reimagine education. I think that the system is not only wrong in its conception, but I think that us as educators, or us as being participants of the entire educational system, we need to reimagine the picture of how we want education to be in the next 10, 20, 50, or even 100 years. And I think that the world has given us the perfect context. The post-pandemic context has transformed our lives in so many ways that I think education is not one that should be just remain as it was before. I think this is the one context that should be constantly being transformed, not only by us or by students, but by all of the different actors that hold accountability for the results of it. Some intriguing and preoccupating figures today in our education systems. First, diversity is not reflected inside of the education systems. Why do I say this? I'm not only meaning about gender, which is the traditional focus that we look at when we talk about diversity inside of schools or universities or different approaches. I'm also meaning socioeconomic segregation. Something that we very well know in a city such as Medellin. Something like alienation of more than 60% of people with disabilities. Nowadays, if you go to a school, it's very common that if your child has any particular disability, it's going to be a struggle so that he gets along with the different classmates or even with their professors or teachers. Not only that, a very preoccupating figure is today, 1 in every 4 15-year-old students worldwide is reporting to feel like an outsider in school. Not only because of the reflection of the pandemic, not only because of the context in which we're living in, but particularly because these children come from very different ethnic groups. What happens when we take an indigenous child and we just start teaching them only and uniquely in the language that the cities use? What happens if this particular person has actually never been involved or knows nothing at all about the traditional languages, but only about his or her own culture? That's what we mean when we say that quality education has a lot to see, has a lot to do before it is actually achieved. Aside of that, we also have a lot of different issues, such as inadequate funding. That's what I say when I mean that it's not only our jobs as professors, teachers, students, but also the different policymakers, for example, to realize the particular issues that education is having today. Outdated curricula. For those of us that are professors, for those of us that are in the academia, we know that this is a pretty common element to suffer from in our different classes. How much it takes for different institutions to actually make the decision of transforming their curricula. It needs to go on 4, 5, even 6 different levels before it is actually considered as something possible. And by the moment it is accepted, it is again already outdated. Different concepts that with the digital world and with virtuality are constantly transforming, and professors are actually not being able to keep up with the pace. And the thing that they decide to do is just, okay, I'm going to teach the same for the rest of my life, and I'm not going to be concerned about the different generations that come along. That is something that is quite an issue for the SDG that we're talking about today. And geographical remoteness. What about the students that have to walk or that have to go 3 or even 4 hours before they have to actually reach their schools or institutions? I have a very close friend of mine who is a former student of UdeA. He earned a scholarship back in the 90s, like a full scholarship. He was one of the first people from a different social class that actually got access to an institution such as UdeA, and he was living in Belgium. The thing is, for the 5 years that his professional path lasted, his educational path lasted, every single day he had to walk at 3 a.m. in the morning from Belgium to UdeA because he had not even 100 pesos in his pocket. He didn't get anything to eat for breakfast, and he had to ask for his classmates for something to eat for lunch. And even with those limitations and barriers, he got to be first in his class by the moment he graduated. I'm not trying to romanticize this. On the opposite, what I'm actually demonstrating here is that the current education system is only basing the results on figures, just as the traditional conception of development. So we need to actually keep up with this transformation, with the new aspects and perspectives of development, and include them in quality education. And the last alarming figure here, or the last alarming element, the figures on learning and education today in pretty much 90% of the countries, and I took this from a report that the UNDP published last year, are taken from schools and institutions, even when many of the population, many of the people are not even participating. So how am I taking figures and results and conclusions if I'm not taking the entire population that should be related to this concern? Education, a fundamental capability. I think that we all know that by heart. Education and educating populations could translate into these particular results. First thing, breaking chains of poverty. If you give a child education, that child will hold a very powerful tool with the different dreams and desires that he or she has for their future. Empowering health outcomes. If you educate a person, that person will definitely make the smarter or the brightest decisions with the knowledge they have in terms of their own health, what they consume, what they eat, what they do on a daily basis. Catalyzing social mobility. There should be no limitation for the different possibilities that people have in terms of their future. People should not be submitted only to remaining in the social class or with the social level or the economic level that they were born with. People should be given the freedom, as Amartya mentioned, to actually just escalate, depending on their freedoms, capabilities, and achievements. Talent and potential can dictate one's trajectory. Alongside with what I was mentioning, the talent of a person, and with the example that I provided before with my colleague, the talent of a person should actually be boosted on the basis of the educational tools that a government or that institutions can provide. Navigate the change and seize the opportunities. a person that is well educated, that has enough knowledge, can easily see more opportunities than a person that has not access to education. And more important, and I think that the current SDGs agenda emphasizes a lot on this. This is one of the transformations or the transitions that I was talking about at the beginning, and it is lifelong learning. Quality education is not obtaining a diploma on your high school, is not obtaining a diploma in your university, in your bachelor's degree. Lifelong learning means obtaining all the different capacities that you would require for achieving the objectives that you set in your life. So one of the things that the United Nations says is we should not narrow the perspective of education only to what you can do in a school. You should actually train the different people based on their likes, their desires, and their dreams, so that they understand that they are interconnected with their societies and that they can be agents of transformation. Education is the bedrock of empowerment and progress, and I think that's been pretty clear with the different elements that I've mentioned so far. Education is a lifelong process. It is not something static. It is not something that should be driven by stages, and it is something that should not be directly related to this data-driven world in which we live in. Nowadays, we should ask ourselves this question: can we actually see the linkage between the ideas of Amartya Sen and between the agenda that the world is taking as this framework, as this important framework for solving the most important issues in the world? I think that it is pretty clear that both of the ideas amplify the resonance of education's impact. Both Amartya Sen and the United Nations have understood that education is one of the most important tools. Definitely one of the most important tools. Why? Because it's not a means to an end, as I said. It's not stage by stage. It's not something that's defined, but it is a journey to self-discovery. Through education, what the United Nations, the different governments, institutions, communities, and people that have come to adopt a position in terms of what development is, they have understood that self-discovery of one's desires, of one's needs, is actually what can provide us with empowerment, is what can provide us with social progress in general. We hold the keys to a sustainable future, and I say we, not only narrowing this perspective to professors or people related to education, to the industry itself or to the aspect itself, but I mean every single person inside of the society. Just as the SDGs agenda consulted a very widely group of institutions and actors in the international system, we should also take a look at what is the role that we have inside of our society. Policymakers, as active population, as people that are actually holding accountable the system itself, the government itself. This is a very interesting quote that I got to read from one of the articles that Amartya Sen wrote, and it says, "It's not just about classrooms and textbooks, it's about nurturing engaged global citizens who champion environmental stewardship, social justice, and innovation." Definitely, education can be the tool for all of these different results. You're going to say, okay, Juliana, well, that sounds really pretty, that's very gorgeous, in speech, that's very nice, for a closing remark, but how do we do it? Which is actually the question that we should be asking to all of these international agendas. Those ideas are very pretty. We're saying by 2030 we should leave poverty behind, we should have no hunger, we should leave a bunch of different issues, but how do we do it? That's the most important question. This is not a definite route to achieving it, but it is a first step, at least. What can we do as professionals, people, informed citizens, and as professionals that are advocating for the human development in general? First things first, of course, continuing advocating for change. if we understand the concept of development, if we understand the different notions that these different agendas have come to explain to the world, to the different actors, then it would be easier for us to actually just take practical ideas into the different scenarios. Embracing innovative teaching methods. I think that that's one of the biggest challenges that we hold as professors, or at least I say from my own experience. Keeping up with the pace of new generations is really, really exhausting. And I am very young, so you should be saying that's something that is only for people that are older. But I am struggling with that as well. The different things that I'm trying to use inside of the classroom to get closer to my students so that they can understand particularly the ideas that I want them to have in their minds, or the things that I want them to use for their critical thinking. That's really, really complex, but it's a work in progress, definitely. It's something that we have to face on a daily basis in our jobs. Support initiatives. I don't mean only from our own institutions, but I mean there are several NGOs, several actors abroad, different governments from different places around the world that are constantly creating initiatives that we could actually replicate inside of our institutions. Or if it's not possible for us to have such a big impact, then at least inside of our classrooms. Fostering lifelong learning, as I was saying. It's not only telling our students or telling people that we have close to us, the moment you get your diploma, then you're done. The moment you get your diploma or the moment you graduate, then you've finished, you've accomplished your goal in life. Because that's not it. A diploma should not be related to the last result of a person. Instead, we should be thinking about what have you learned in the different scenarios. And what do you want to learn eventually? What do you want to do? Again, we go to the idea of the capacities, like freedom to do, freedom to be, freedom to become. Collaborate and network. This we're doing here, and this we've been doing for the last days. This is network. It's not only you being sitting in a particular space, in a classroom or in an auditorium, but it is talking to other professionals from different parts of the country, from different institutions, from different contexts, and asking how can we collaborate to actually achieve that goal of providing quality education to the different populations in the world. Influencing educational policy. I know that in Colombia we have that particular conception that the government is way up there and we are way up here, so that there's no possibility of connecting. But there's nothing that's farther from the truth than that. We can always be agents of transformation, and we can always find a policymaker that's close to us so that we can bring different ideas. And it's better when we come in masses and not by individuals. Empower marginalized communities. That is something that I admire very, very much from the different public institutions we have in our country. They are attempting with the tools they have to integrate the different populations that have all the different limitations that I mentioned before. Children, women that are being limited from going to school only on the basis of their gender, because they should be at home on the traditional gender roles, helping their moms, or helping indigenous communities to reach educational processes beyond their communities, to actually travel to other cities and learn about different elements, or even people with disabilities, as I just mentioned before. Stay informed and engaged. Again, what we're doing here is staying informed, keeping up to the pace of the different transformations that the world is going through in terms of education. Encourage cross-disciplinary learning. Well, you have today here in front of you a person that has nothing to do with translation, but still is talking about the empowerment of development in education, and be a role model. Definitely, the people that we influence, the closest to us, are going to be the replicators of those things that we learn and of those things that we actually can use for the transformation, not only of the educational system, but of the entire context for human development. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Juliana, for your interesting plenary. Now we have here some minutes to ask Juliana some questions. And if you are interested in asking a question to Juliana, please, someone is going to give you a microphone, and then so you can ask a question. So, any question? Any comment? Was the plenary quite clear then? Question 1, question 2, question 3, no one? Okay, so yeah, that's an option too, right? So you can ask her a question in Spanish, right? French too? French? French as well, right? Portuguese, right? Catalan too, right? So she has different options to talk to. Okay. So timid. I know that you are all tired, right? I know, right? So, but that's okay. Thank you, Diana. Okay, go ahead.
Juliana, first of all, I would say thank you. I thought it was quite interesting. As a teacher educator, I was all the time trying to relate how we educate teachers to all these agendas. And sometimes I kept thinking how sometimes we limit our teacher education programs to our specific field of knowledge. And we tend to forget all these agendas, or we focus specifically for us that we are language teacher educators. We focus on those policies that are related to teaching the language. So I kept thinking while you were talking about how these ideas should be present in all teacher education programs. So you gave me a lot to think about. So I just want to thank you for that.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Yeah, regarding your comment, I do believe so. I think that sometimes we have so many tasks in our institutions, we have so many concerns on our particular programs and courses that we tend to forget about this interdisciplinary approach that we could give in each of our classes. And it comes to be something really important for our students and for us as well, because as we teach, we're also learning. Because at the end of the day, we live in a globalized world, in a world that's very intertwined, and it should not be our focus to only develop our task, particular thing, particular topic in the class, but to open the minds of our students and to teach them that they are not only professionals in languages, but that they are global citizens and that they are part of a wider world and that they live in something that is actually connected to the rest of countries and spaces and actors. Something that I mention a lot in my classes. I'm a professor of international relations, so I can have a little bit more freedom to speak about this. But something that I usually mention is local actions, global impact. That's something that I repeat a lot. Because it's not only what they get in our classes, but it's also what they do with what they learn in our classes. Different initiatives that even us as professors could help them achieve in their future lives. So I do think that sometimes we forget as educators that we have a very, very, very important task and responsibility, because we have human beings sitting there. And the same thing that I mentioned, we tend to, sometimes we blur the fact that they are humans and we think of them as numbers, like I have these many students, I have these many classes, but what about the lives that you're touching? What about the people that you're having in front, the ideas? So thank you very much for your comment. Thank you. Perfect.
Hi, thank you for your presentation. It took a while, at least to me, to think about a question, because it was so very clear, and I think if anyone could ask any question, you would go on and discuss these things that, if you think about it, I mean, they make a lot of sense. And they make so much sense that what I was left with was, well, why isn't that working? Why doesn't this happen in real life? And who's responsible for this? And what are the agendas that are keeping this from happening? So if you think about, for instance, the forces that are at play in our context, I think it's very easy to understand why this kind of discourse seems powerful, because, well, yeah, it leaves us with the responsibility to say, well, okay, so what we need to do is to empower ourselves and do all these things, and then it'll happen. And of course, that makes sense, but it doesn't explain why so many people are born and die within the same social context that they were born in. So it must be something that goes beyond telling people to do stuff, because I guess I'm maybe too pessimist or cynical, because for me it's hard to believe that it's just that the people who do not do this, or who do not overcome their poverty through education or through whatever, and end up in poverty anyway, it's because they didn't try hard enough, you know? So I keep asking myself is, well, why is it that the educational system, instead of countering all these things that are going on, actually work to favor them? And what is the role of universities, public and private universities, and the media, and politicians and everyone? If their role is to change this, why aren't they doing it? And maybe the best possible answer is, well, because it's in their own interest, not for things not to change. So I guess my question is, what do you think, beyond, as you said, beyond the sustainable development goals, which I guess are designed by and for politicians? I don't know. Who do you think should come up with the goals that we should actually try to meet? I mean, how is there a way in which, I guess, the people, I don't know, could come up with things that are really something that they care about, and that we as educators should actually be able to mobilize and involve? That, I guess, it's not, that doesn't come from the UN or from, you know, these people, but actually come from within ourselves, and so that we can actually do something. I don't know what that would look like, so I'm asking you maybe how do you envision such a scenario, or if anyway you still think this is the way to go.
The first thing that I would like to mention is exactly what you presented in the first place is the problem that we have today, the blame game. Who is to blame? If it's not professors, then it's government. If it's not the government, then it's the media. And if it's not the media, then it's families. And if it's not families, then it's students themselves. I think that our focus should not be who is to be blamed because of this issue we're living in, but how do we overcome it, right? So when I was mentioning about this list, this particular list, I actually, you made me think about one thing that I forgot, and it was holding different people accountable for the responsibilities that they have in the system. it's not so that we can say the government is the unique actor that needs to be blamed because the education system is not working in Colombia. Because if they're not working, then what's going on with the rest of actors? We need to point at each of them as well. But we should go beyond, as you just explained. It should be coming from the bottom. If these agendas are giving us a framework or are giving us goals, because this is at the end of the day going to be evaluated on the basis of the results, then what are the different tools that we could use from our own roles, from our own perspectives as professors, as educators in general, so that we could help a little bit to these students to achieve a little bit. If it's not the entire goal of quality education, at least teach them how to do something right that's going to transform their lives eventually with one or another decision that they make. So that's the one thing. Stop the blame game and hold accountable each of the responsible actors for each of their tasks. And the second thing is, why is it that's not working? Well, I'm not a big fan of these agendas. I used to work for the United Nations maybe 7 years ago. And I was part of the entire design of different scenarios in which they shared with different populations what they were aiming for the future, and the Agenda 2015 and the Agenda 2030. And believe me, in 2030, there's going to be a possible future agenda. I don't know if 15 years is going to be something like a time frame they're going to use, but it's going to happen. But the main issue is the fact that they are making decisions out there without the consultation of the people down here. That's one of the main breaking points that's making all these issues not work. And I'm just going to give you this example. When I used to work with the UN, we were working in the design of this agenda. I was particularly in Barcelona helping a bunch of different policymakers understand what they could do, how could they advocate for different issues that they found in their different municipalities or in the countries in general in Europe. And one of the questions that raised was, if the UN is so preoccupied with the main issues of the world, why there is not a single time in which the word refugees is mentioned? If back then, in 2015 or 2014, that was the main preoccupation of pretty much 40% of the world. So here comes the analysis. If we're not involving the different communities with their main preoccupations, but we are just thinking about general agendas coming from the developed nations and what they think are the main issues, then there is this big disconnection, this big gap between fiction and reality, right? We live in Colombia, one of the most affected countries by this thing of migration, not only incoming, but outcoming. Like, we live in a very, let's say, struggling context, and we have lived in a very struggling context in that sense. But not a single time we were asked as a country, what do you think are the main issues you have as a society? We're just given tasks, and they tell us you need to accomplish these 17 goals by the end of 2030, and let's see how you do at the end of 2030. But they never mention tools. They never mention steps. They never mention a network that you can come and work with. What they do is eventually every 5 years or so, they say, okay, Colombia, how you're doing? But that's it. So I think that there's this big disconnection, not only internally, as I was saying, between students and professors, professors and policymakers, policymakers and governance, governance and the international scenario, but also between the different states, like different governments. It's not by mistake that the different countries that are members of the OCDE were the ones to design both of the agendas. I mean, that is a lesson that we have not learned. And even if Colombia is today part of this institution, you know that we feel like the fly on the milk, right? We're like, that is the club of the rich countries. And Colombia is there like, hi, I want to be friends. but that's it. The different ideas and goals that this institution has have nothing to do with the reality of the context of our country. And that's something that we all know. But even with our participation, we have not been able to reach this particular creation of an agenda that actually represents what we are aiming for the future of the country. So my response to that, I don't have a crystal ball to give you all answers, but my response to that is, first thing we need to do, stop the blame game and start with holding every single actor accountable for their own responsibilities. And that's it. Thank you very much.
Well, Eliana, thanks again. So it was a very interesting plenary. And I think the discussion goes on and there is no any limit, but now we have to close our seminars. So thank you again for all of you to be here. So we are about to finish our seminars and then we have a cultural event. But before that, so we have Adriana's words for you. So thank you very much, right, for your presence here and for sure. So our academic talk will go on, right? So thank you again.
Okay, so I have to start saying thank you very much to all of you who have survived 3 days. I can see your faces. We are all tired, our eyes red, and having all kinds of pains in the neck and somewhere else after sitting. But after that, and besides all that kind of pain and painful for the body, we're very, very happy and thankful to all of you for your commitment to be part of this interesting experience. I just want to thank Juliana for her wonderful approach using the Amartya Sense framework to tackle objective number 4. And I love what she put here, because this slide summarizes very well what we have tried to do. So for those of you who have been the troopers in our seminars, like our colleagues from Luis Amigón, from Universidad Católica de Oriente, Universidad Nacional, so we have tried very, very hard for 20 years to support and help teachers, foreign language teachers, Spanish teachers, French teachers, English teachers, and now Portuguese teachers to have opportunities to understand their professional development or our professional development. Mainly how we educate teachers and how we teach foreign languages as a way to be and to become. And besides this, thanks to our colleagues from the translation program, they accepted the invitation. So this is the first time that we have a joint seminar. And it has not been easy, but it has been very fruitful. If we hadn't had the fantastic ears of our colleagues, I know the 2 colleagues from Peru that have survived all these days, it wouldn't be possible. So we had believers and, of course, many students and staff and everyone who has been part of this fantastic opportunity. If this had not had the believers as you, as us, we wouldn't be here. So it's the first time that we have translation and interpretation and foreign language teachers and teaching education and foreign language teaching and education together. And for the first time, and we had some criticisms and some discussions, like, why do you have an environmental engineer as a plenary speaker? Why do you have a climatologist, so Paola Arias? Or why do you have an expert on international relations and negotiations? Why are those people here? This is exactly because we should be committed, not only to the planetary humanitarian crisis we're facing, but also because this is one of the important recommendations. If we want to make changes, and you know, we have advocated for 20 years on the importance of defending multilingualism. We are one of the very few events in Colombia that uses Spanish, English, French, and now Portuguese. We would like to have other languages in the future, and hopefully, not very far away from now, indigenous languages, because those are not just exotic parts of the decoration of what makes us an exotic country. It's something because there are many different epistemologies and different views of the world that should put us together. So we have tried, and I know all of you and the fantastic plenary speakers that we have had. And I am very pleased to see here still surviving. Claudine Moise, and of course, using French and the fantastic ideas she shared with us this morning. We also have the honor to have the president of the International Federation of Translators. So people that are world known and people with extensive CVs and, as Fabio said this morning, 20 pages of publications by Claudine and all that, the same for Juliana, even as if she's so young. But it's not that. It's their spirit and their kindness. They have been generous. We have not paid any money to them. They have been very, very generous with their time, their expertise, their research, but especially their hearts. They have touched our lives and they have come. Juliana has come for the first time to this university. So for her, for some of you who do not know, so Universidad FIT is a private university in Medellin and is one of the most expensive tuitions that we have in the higher education system. And of course, it has a different mission and a different objective. But it's very good that the university with the highest tuition is meeting the university where students pay no tuition. So this is where we should be together as we have done it for so many years. Private universities, Catholic universities, public universities, lay universities, everyone together, getting us as human beings. And as I'm taking too long, I'm sorry, I just wanted to a few words. So we know this because we have all advocated for change as students, as English teachers, French teachers, Spanish teachers, international negotiators, translators, interpreters. We know this. We have all embraced innovative teaching methods, as we know from our colleagues that shared experiences with us from Spain, from Mexico, from Peru, from Chile, from Argentina, from Brazil, from France, from United States, and Colombia, of course. So we have been doing this, and of course, supporting and fostering lifelong learning. This is what professional development is. It's an opportunity for all of us to recognize how much we have learned, but how much we still have to learn as long as we are on the face of this planet, on the surface of this planet. So we need to change and, of course, looking for alternatives to be and of course, to become, as Juliana said. I think that one of the most important lessons from this event has been collaborating and networking. So now we have new friends from various countries, and we hope, and from other universities in the city and in the state and in Colombia, our door is open. So please consider us as possible destinations for your students, for yourselves, for coming, for exchanging ideas. We don't need a lot of money, and sometimes we can use a Zoom connection to exchange ideas. It's better we can see each other, but we know that there are budgetary cuts all over the world, and countries, even in Colombia, we're experiencing, even if we want transformations in democracy, education is not a priority. But we could still fight for that. Whenever we have a chance, and we have been very critical, and those of you who know this university, we have always had a political stand, and we have taken the stand to be critical, to resist, persist, and never desist. Because if we don't do that, so the world is going to continue the same. And universities replicate universal ideas. So universities rhyme with universes. So we need to bear this because we're privileged in a country like Colombia, where there are very few doctors. We have a very high concentration of doctors in this space and in this university. We are the most educated square kilometer in the state of Antioquia, just crossing the street. What are we doing for that? What are we doing? What is our responsibility? Of course. And we, as a public university and the second largest university in Colombia, and the second research university after Universidad Nacional, so we have been committed for 220 years of our life to work for marginalized communities. And this is also something that we as foreign language teachers, interpreters, and translators, we need to do. Finally, if we stay informed and engaged, and if we do what we have tried to do this time, cross-disciplinary learning, probably we will have more chances to be role models. In every single classroom, we inspire people. And this is something that teachers will inspire. And when we inspire people, we change and we touch people's hearts and we make changes. So I'm sorry for this. I look like a preacher, like in a sermon, but it's just one of the way on behalf of everyone telling you how thankful we are for your presence, for staying until now. And to those, I don't know now who is following us, who resisted all the 3 days on Zoom and on the YouTube channel. And despite all the problems that we had, and of course I have to apologize for the first 2 plenary speakers that could not make it in presence due to the stories, well, you heard. Thank you very much, and we hope to see you in 2 years. We have already had some suggestions. For example, talking about artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence, how is this shaping and affecting translation, interpretation, and education? A todos y todas, mil y mil gracias por estar aquí, por ser nuestros compañeros en la resistencia, aguantadores, haber compartido con nosotros los 80 pasteles y 90 juguitos de harina, carbohidratos, todos los carbohidratos de forma exponencial, pero gracias por hacer parte de nuestro sueño de crear comunidades de práctica, comunidades de aprendizaje, comunidades de trabajo. Merci à tous. Il est un véritable plaisir de vous avoir ici. Il faut pratiquer le français. Il faut. Merci pour votre présence, votre patience et votre gentille participation avec nous. Merci beaucoup. Obrigada. Grazie mille. Thank you. Muchas gracias. Y ya dentro de poco viene el grupo musical y van a hacer una presentación de música colombiana, música tropical. Se pueden parar, pueden empezar a bailar, por lo menos. Mil gracias a todos y todas, al equipo.